else to get united. Like, what we gotta do is meet everybody on 149th Street at the bench.
How to stay consistent with your art. It's something a lot of artists struggle with, and today, that's what we want to go ahead and talk about. I want to talk about what makes artists quit, what makes them feel like, you know what, this sucks, I don't want to do this anymore, and how to get over that hump. So first things first, when you're kind of getting into art, and when you decide that this is something that you want to keep consistent in your life, you have to decide, what do you want from the art form? This is by far one of the biggest flaws I see in a lot of new artists. You see, you owe it to yourself in order to decide, do you want to have fun with art, or do you want to make progress with art? For some, this question is easily answered. Some people, like myself, they want progress, and as a result, that's what they focus on. For some people, they find progress to be fun, so the two are kind of mixed together. And then for other people, well, they just want to have a good time, and they don't care about progress. You gotta figure out where you fall on this scale, because that'll dictate how you create, it'll dictate what you create, and how much you create. And all of those are gonna be very key factors into keeping you interested in the art form. So let's kind of go over this. You see, no matter where you fall on the scale, you're going to have different challenges, and you're gonna have to come to terms with different things. So it might be weird to hear me say this, but if you don't care about progress, you don't need to practice, you just need to have fun. That's it. But you have to come to terms with that, because, well, that has huge implications. That means you're probably not gonna get much better. Even if you spend the next 5 decades drawing, you're probably not gonna really be all that good anyway. You're still gonna be an amateur by the end of that time, and you're still not gonna know anything. You're still going to have a very ignorant outlook on a lot of topics, and the quality of your work isn't gonna be all that good either, because, well, you haven't been practicing. Simply drawing and drawing for a long time doesn't really facilitate progress beyond a certain point. And to be honest, most artists fall into this category right here. But the conflict is most human beings don't feel comfortable with the notion of spending multiple decades dedicating their life to something and not seeing progression. So this type of person, they end up quitting because they feel disappointed, they feel bogged down that they're not getting any better, but they also don't want to dedicate the time to get better. Because remember, this type of person only cares about having fun. They don't care about actually studying and practicing. However, because they don't study and practice, they don't get better. Because they don't get better, they feel like they wasted their time, and because they feel like they wasted their time, they end up quitting. So for this person, they have to come to terms with the notion that they are not gonna get good. And if they're able to do that, they're gonna be okay. I have friends in graffiti who've been doing graffiti longer than I've been alive. They've been in the game since the early 70s, and they've never really practiced a day in their life. But they don't have any illusions about their artwork. They know that they're still an amateur. They know that they have an amateur knowledge level. They know that they don't know anything, and they're okay with that. And as a result, they just enjoy the art form. Nothing about it, they just have themselves a good time, and that's perfectly okay. However, the people on the other side of the spectrum, man, those guys over there, these dudes right here who only care about progress, they tend to burn themselves out because they don't give themselves enough time to have fun. You got these types of people who, you know, all they do is practice, all they do is study, that's it, they don't do anything else, and they burn themselves out because, well, they feel like they don't have time for their own artwork. They feel like all their time is spent drawing all this boring stuff that they don't even like drawing, and that turns into, well, do I even like art? Because for them, art is just practice. And of course, if that's all art is to you and you don't enjoy practice, you're gonna hate art as a result of it. So you gotta give yourself time in order to draw personal projects. Give yourself time to draw what you like to draw, to paint what you like to paint, to create what you want to create, however you want to create it. And this is your moment to just take the weight off your shoulders and have a good time. The quality doesn't matter. You can draw stick figures, it doesn't matter. As long as you're having a fun time, that's the only thing that matters. But you gotta give yourself that time. You gotta give yourself that break, and a lot of people need that break. And then you got the psychopaths who, this is just myself, the people who enjoy practice and enjoy studying, and that's all they do. And because for them, practice is fun, they don't really ever get burnt out because they enjoy the process of practicing and studying. I do have to say though, and this is the cold hard truth, I don't care what other people on social media kind of try to sugarcoat it with. This is all well and good for anybody who wants to, you know, keep it a hobby, or they don't care if they remain an amateur, or they're not looking to get to a professional skill and knowledge level. If you want to get to a professional skill and knowledge level, then you have to have the discipline to practice even when you don't want to. It's not a choice. Like you're gonna have to do it, and you're going to need that discipline to get through it, because no matter if you're feeling sad one day, if you're feeling bad, if you're feeling tired, you don't want to go ahead and practice or study, you're gonna have to still do it. Otherwise, you're simply just not going to get to that professional skill and knowledge level. And that's just the facts of the matter. Your skill level doesn't care if you're sad. Your skill level doesn't care if you're tired. Your skill level doesn't care if you're burnt out. If you don't practice, if you don't study, you won't progress. So if you want to get to that level, at some point, you gotta suck it up. Remember, inspiration is a luxury. Motivation is a privilege. Neither of the two are required. You have to get to work, and there's no excuses. But this is where we have a little something known as the 80-20 split. This is actually something that I learned about when I was gonna go to comic book college. And essentially what happens is 80% of your work is basic fundamental studies. This is you doing your 3 pillars of art and studying that with zero style. Absolutely no style is allowed in your fundamental studies at all whatsoever when you're first starting off. And the reason for this is because all that visual style is just visual white noise that kind of distracts from what you're studying. Because understand, the whole point of practice, the whole point of studying is for you to study and practice the basic formula behind whatever fundamental it is you're doing research on. But adding style means you're exaggerating the fundamentals. So you're exaggerating that basic formula, and as a result, you're no longer looking at the basic formula once you stylize something. Therefore, if you add style to your practice, you're not really practicing or studying. Once again, at least when you're first starting off and you're still learning the fundamentals. Because more advanced people can still see the fundamentals through style, so it doesn't really affect them as nearly as much. But the 20%, that's going to be you just having a good time doing whatever it is you'd like to do for fun. And that's the key thing. Separate the two. Take those two things and understand when it's time to practice and understand when it's time to have a good time. And do not cross-pollinate the two. Keep them separated. Your 20% work is meant only for your eyes. You can post it, you can show it, whatever the case is, but you do not get your 20% fun drawings critiqued at all at any point ever, never. So instead, we get our fundamental studies critiqued. And the reason for this is because that's the only place that progress happens. Your skill level, your knowledge level only increases as you learn more about the fundamentals. That's it. So that's what you want to get critiqued. There's no point in getting anything else critiqued. The great thing about the 80-20 split is you can adjust the ratio based on whatever it is you want. So if you want to keep it more as a hobby and you absolutely do not care about progress at all whatsoever, well then do 100% fun drawings. Or if you care a little bit about progress, well then do 90% fun drawings and 10% practice. And so on and so forth. If you're one of those people that kind of likes a blend of both, well then do a 70-30 or a 60-40 split where 60% of your work is basic fundamental studies and then, 40% is you having a good time. But if you want to take it to a professional level, well then you have to do a 70-30 or higher. And the reason for that is because it'll give you a good rate of progression with that ratio of practice to fun. Also, one thing I really recommend for a lot of new artists who still haven't found their footing in art in general, right? We're not talking about just graffiti, we're talking about art in general. Try out different art forms. It might be the case that you're honestly just not in love with the art form you're doing. You might love art, but you might not love the art form you chose to do. Also, try different tools. Maybe you don't like spray paint. Maybe you just absolutely hate it and you would rather enjoy pastels, or you would enjoy pencils, or you would enjoy markers a lot more. That could also lead you to not creating art consistently. So figure out what tools you enjoy using and what art form you enjoy doing. I don't really show it here on the channel all too much, but I draw a lot of like anime stuff. I draw a lot of cartoony stuff, even though I'm a graffiti artist and a hyper-realistic painter. Like, those are my two specialties. But I do a bunch of other art forms that I really enjoy as well. But dudes, that pretty much wraps up today's video. Let me know any tricks and tips that you have to make art consistently in the comments down below. Let's start up a little bit of a conversation about it. And if you found that you're one of those people that enjoys practice and knowledge more, check out the best How to Do Graffiti playlist right up here. And I'll catch you guys back here next week. Thanks for watching.